Well, hello there. My name is Dave Bila. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access Channel 99, TV Channel 99. We are a weekly public opinion program addressing local, state, and national topics and issues of interest to the Michigan City and surrounding areas. Opinions are the views of the responsibilities of those making the comments and do not represent or reflect the views of this program or its co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment right to freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of us is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the discussion, and the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taping this show on the 13th. Friday the 13th. And I'm going to give you a surprise. This is going to be our Christmas show. We are taking a long hiatus, a 2-week hiatus for Christmas as well as New Year. And Steve, the accordion player, will, with his the Myron LaFlorin of Michigan City, will be here the week of the 20th as well as the week of the 27th, serenading our viewing audience with his melodious sounds on his accordion. We won't be back until December the 3rd, so December the 3rd of 25.
January.
So, I'm sorry. Yeah, January the 3rd of 25. So I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas, a really early one, because I don't know what I'm going to be doing for the next 3 weeks. An interesting thing about sports, the 20th, Notre Dame plays, they play IU. Bob, of course, is a IU alumni. And looking at the computer, based on the strength of schedule, out of the top 20 teams, Notre Dame is ranked 22nd in the strength of schedule. And another team that's ranked 23rd is Boise State. But those two teams outside of the top 20 teams who play a stronger schedule are included in the college rankings. I wonder how that could be. Bob, any idea?
Yeah, Boise State won its conference, and they set some of these schedules up based on conference. So as a result of that, just like Oregon is going for the Big Ten, which is now the Big 18, Boise State is going because it won its conference championship. Notre Dame sometimes has a very strong schedule, sometimes they don't. Indiana actually had a little bit of a weak schedule this time because Michigan State, Michigan, Nebraska, who they played along with Ohio State, generally these are very strong football teams. They didn't play quite the schedule. They weren't as strong as they are generally on a nationwide basis. But what happens is these contracts get signed generally years in advance as to when they're going to play. They can try to schedule teams that they think are going to have very good football teams. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. Notre Dame does not play in a conference. So as a result of that, they have to schedule their games around conference games for some teams that they'd like to play. Sometimes it doesn't work out. But Notre Dame, you can always count on having a decent football team.
Okay, I'll dispute what you say. Based on the top teams, the top 20 teams, Indiana's schedule was ranked number 10 as superiority strength-wise.
Wait a minute.
They were ranked number 10, and Notre Dame was ranked 78.
You didn't.
There's
listen.
a discrepancy.
You didn't listen to what I said.
Say it. All right, say it again.
What I said was they played Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, and Ohio State. Michigan, Michigan State, and Nebraska were not as strong as they generally are. So as a result of that, Indiana didn't have quite as strong as a schedule as they supposedly would have. Let me finish. If Michigan, Michigan State, and Nebraska had fielded the teams that they normally do.
Who beat Ohio State?
Michigan. But
this
remember,
year,
Michigan had 4 losses.
Who wins Notre Dame Indiana game? Even though you're not an Indiana fan,
I have.
looks like Notre Dame's going to win.
but it'll be close, I think.
Yeah, because the reason why Notre Dame's got the press on their side, and they got the swamp on their side, and they got every Tom, Dick, and Harry that can come out of a mole, being a bookie, is on their side. The fact is, the strength of schedule, in my mind, should determine. Isn't that what our society
But
consists
your
of?
problem, when you set that up, is many teams have their schedule set up 3-4 years in advance. You play the teams like Michigan, Michigan State, Nebraska, who normally will have very tough schedules. This year, they were not as strong a team.
Then how did Notre Dame spend? Why did Notre Dame spend $1,000 to bring in Northern Illinois to play at South Bend Toulouse? Why is they just mysteriously decided to bring in a weak team to come in? Was that they had that program scheduled? They had that game scheduled in
Northern
advance,
Illinois is generally a pretty strong team.
and they beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm saying they're normally a pretty strong team.
Well, when you looked at the strength of schedule of what Notre Dame played versus the strength of schedule of what Indiana played, there's a considerable
This
difference.
is a strong positive for the state of Indiana.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a strong positive for Northwest Indiana. You're going to have people come to see this football game.
Oh, it's going to be a zoo.
That are
over in
going to
South
wind
Bend.
up.
Well,
Let me finish.
Yeah, the cast over here in town.
They're going to wind up staying here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're going to eat here.
Notre Dame might stay here just to stay out of it.
Well, they possibly could.
Don't tell
but-
anyone that.
But as a result of that, this is a positive for us, and we got to keep these positives going.
I don't disagree.
Good segue.
Now, what's next on the agenda? I could talk about TIF district funds and the redevelopment commission. I haven't come to a final conclusion yet, but about 3.5 years ago, when we started on this concept, there was not a list of the 92 county TIF districts established in the state of Indiana. And Tony did some research on his little bitty computer here, and he did not find any annual report that the city of Michigan City provided to Gateway.
Gateway.
Lo and behold,
Anyone can go to Gateway. It's pretty neat.
yeah, it's pretty.
It's kind of weird, though, how you got to look things, but it's because you pick the county, then you pick the district, and then you pick the report.
Right. Lo and behold, it's all consolidated now, and when you look at Michigan City now has filed their report. And there are figures for year of 23 and year of 24 that is in this report as to how much money the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission has obtained through the TIF district for their coffers, so to speak.
For redevelopment.
For redevelopment. That is redevelopment on new construction. Okay.
Yeah, not maintenance.
Not maintenance, you've got your existing tax base that's there that the school city gets. And they went into a 5-year agreement with the Redevelopment Commission to the tune of $1.2 million a year for 5 years. And that was what the school city was getting. Now in 2025, this new negotiation has to take place. And based on the figures and the calculations that I obtained from Gateway, Michigan City is due a considerably larger amount of funds than that $1.2 million that they got on that 5-year agreement with the Redevelopment Commission. My suggestion to the school city is to negotiate a 1-year contract and have it a reoccurring 1-year contract, because based on the school city's eligible funds, if they request it, they lost $4,029,954.90 due to the fact that they did not make a request to the Redevelopment Commission for this additional funding. The Redevelopment Commission could come back and say, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, because we had a contract with the school city for that $1.2 million for a 5-year deal, and we're not going to tell the school city that they're eligible for more funds. We're not going to say that because we want to keep the money to ourselves. Well, the fact is, this new negotiation period that's starting in 2025, the school city is eligible for, in effect, $3.2 million a year.
It would be
Based on these
interesting to know.
statistics.
No, wait a minute. All that money is coming from the city of Michigan City. This is a consolidated school corporation. You have Pine Township, you have Cool Spring Township, you have Springfield Township that also should be putting in their fair share. The school city needs to go to them and say, Michigan City is putting this amount in. Here's what we have decided you need based on the number of students you have. So as a result of that, that's the other thing the school city needs to do. Don't just come back to Michigan City because that makes it easy. It goes to everybody else also.
Well, again, looking at this report, they have they're broken down into counties. Okay, and the revenue from LaPorte County under the city of Michigan City, the revenue from LaPorte County under the city of LaPorte, and these other counties,
The other townships.
the other townships, do not contribute TIF funds, according to this report.
But they have students in our school system. You're not getting the point. This is a consolidated school system. If Michigan City has to provide that amount, then they have to look at it per student, and the townships have to provide their fair share based on the number of students they have in our school system.
Okay, you're looking at it per student. I'm looking at it as the overall.
No, you're looking at it as the easy way for the school to get around it. They got to go to each of those township boards.
We pay taxes to support the schools. If they're eligible for more funds and they're not asking for those additional funds, it's not for me to decide how to work it out.
Time out. They should be asking for Michigan City. I agree with you. They also should be asking for Cool Spring Township, Pine Township, and Springfield Township based on the number of students. And they should show the number of students that Michigan City is supporting versus the number of students that the township should support.
Yesterday, I went to LaPorte and I talked with Mike Schultz. He informed me that he is working with the city of LaPorte on this issue. And I said, Mike, I said, 2.5 years ago when I ran into Francis Coney at a Veterans Day function at the Civic Auditorium in LaPorte, I said, Mark, you know about this? He knew nothing about this. Just maybe the message was conveyed to Francis Coney, to the new school board, and they are now taking advantage of this situation?
That's great. I hope they are. But you have to make this even when it's a consolidated school system. When we were the old Michigan City school system, I would agree with you. That went out the window about 1960, 62, right in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So as a result of that, the townships have also a requirement to provide for their students. And their students that are in our system, you pay a fee for that. If, in fact, we don't collect taxes for that.
But it's not for me to determine details. I bring the issue to light.
But you keep forgetting about the townships. You also have to mention that.
Well, I think you need to figure out how many teachers there are and how much a raise we could give each teacher with $1.4 million to put it in some sense that brings it home. Because if they had an extra, $1.4 million, could you give the teachers a $5,000 raise? I think the teachers would start working to help you ask their administration to ask the city for this money because they would like a raise. And they deserve a raise, I think.
Could well be. I'm just saying, this law was adopted in 2018. Don't you think there's going to come a time when somebody reads the legislation that they write?
Well, they haven't implemented it yet.
Teacher pay, that's obviously a necessity. So is it a necessity that we start to work with these kids that are not up to the grade level? And there's where you start to get into, can these funds be used to pay for Saturday classes for these kids?
Well, that goes back to teacher pay. If somebody's getting paid more money, they might be more motivated to help the students that need more help.
I don't disagree with you.
What are your chances if you said, I'll give you $10,000 raise, would you be willing to help these students that need more help? Or, hey, you need to help these students that need more help, but you're not getting any more money.
Because the teachers are going to go through a contract. As a result of that, will the contract ask for that? So
you would think they would. These are extra money sitting on the table. Let's get it in their hands.
Well, I'm more concerned about the students right now. We have got to get these kids up to grade level.
Well, the students need help.
Yes,
from teachers. And the teachers need to get paid.
Now, there's two ways to do that. The regular teachers that are teaching here, or you can do what they do in colleges and hire adjuncts to come in. Now, maybe if we have teachers that really don't want to do that on Saturdays,
I wouldn't if I wouldn't get any more money. But if you gave me more money, I'd think about it.
well, yeah, but you're not in an age group that's up there that says, well, I don't know if I really want to do this.
I'm sure the younger teachers would
Yeah, you
would,
could get some
would take
younger
up that deal.
But
and-
that's what's got to be found out. And some of that money ought to be designated, perhaps, to do this for the kids who are not up
Yeah.
to standard.
Okay, to add a little clarity here. Local Government Article 7, Planning and Development, Chapter 25, additional powers of the Redevelopment Commission, contacts with eligible and entitles for educational and training program. Getting back to this money can be utilized for educational programs, work training programs, work retraining programs. This is what the revenue that is derived from additional development within the TIF district can be utilized for.
And those
That sounds like-
programs require teachers.
Correct.
And we need to pay
So
them.
this is a way that we can enhance. Now, maybe if there's a teacher out there that would like to talk to me, I'll tell them where to go in regards to additional information.
And we just went through this with these public safety people, the police, the fire, the EMS, and we have a new tax, which we paid them more money because we are having a problem finding good candidates and people that wanted to come to Michigan City. We also just went through this with the lifeguards. When we paid them more money, all of a sudden we had some more lifeguards and better lifeguards. So this is an easy solution to ask the school to ask the money for the teachers to have more money, and you're probably going to get better teachers who are willing to do more programs than teachers who don't get more money.
And going back to this,
Because we got
But
a recruiting problem.
I like the part about the training, because we really need to do something.
Yeah,
with these
We have a
kids.
recruitment problem like everybody else, and this is a way Michigan City can get ahead of everybody else in recruiting the teachers that are good and new teachers that would like to come here with a higher salary to help in training programs.
and then going back, educational programs, work training programs, workers retaining programs, or any other programs designed to prepare individuals to participate in a competitive and global economy. I'm reading.
Designed to teach those kids to be competitive.
Yeah.
That's the whole point by bringing these kids up to standard.
Yeah.
That's something we have to set as a requirement
You
in our
doubt
school system.
anything?
When you
am
boil it
am I
down-
reading that properly?
When you boil it down, it comes to teachers. And
Yeah.
if we don't pay them, we're not going to get the highest caliber teachers who are not the most motivated. So any place we could find extra money, the school needs to make sure they get it in their hands to pay the teachers.
And
That's what
this-
we've been told since day one, since we got the lottery and the scratch off, since we got
I'm
the
not
gambling.
disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is, then when the teachers get the extra pay, maybe we have to do this on the basis that these teachers will be teaching the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Remedial students or extra
Yes.
training. Yes.
And that
I
would
agree.
support
But you're
your
not gonna
side,
get that
that would
with their
support your
pay.
side, and that would support my side.
Everyone wins on it,
Everybody
especially in
wins.
Michigan City.
Yeah.
But
Now,
that remedial training is, to me, very much needed, because we've
Yes.
got to get these kids up to standard.
Yes,
Yeah.
at a minimum, you got to bring them up to standards. At a maximum,
Yeah.
you got to give them extra training.
if there's an individual out there that wants additional information, the Universal Citation, Indiana Code, is 36725-7.
2017 code.
And it was adopted in 2017. What is this, 2024?
Because sometimes you look up those codes and you got to make sure you have the year.
Yeah, okay. So, again, then it goes back to, again, Indiana Code 36725-7.
It's a no-brainer if the city isn't willing to reach out to the school district, then the school district needs to find a way to tell the teachers and their employees that if we get this money, this is what you get, we need your help. And then I think the city would be fine in making sure we got that money.
I think as long as the city does their part on the request, it's almost automatic in terms of the way the law.
I don't know. I mean, it might be automatic, but you have an entity that has millions, tens of millions, that has a lot of it earmarked and a lot of plans. They're probably not the most willing people to give you $1 to $2 million out of their budget, and it
Well,
would take some support from the community saying all these teachers realize that you can come in front of the redevelopment board that if you don't give us this $2 million, they won't get their $5,000 raise.
Well, let's don't assume. Let's let the city go and ask first. Now, if they get turned down, or they don't get
Well, I
an
think they'll
answer.
get turned down, but they'll drag their feet.
Well, okay, then the city's got to do something, then the school says.
But if you walk in there with a bunch of teachers that says, you know, we're going to get better teachers and recruitment's going to be better and each person gets $5,000 and we're going to do these training, there's no way they could say no. They will have to do whatever they need to do to give you that money every year.
Friday night at the Lullamere Michigan City Wolves basketball game, I ran into Angie, and I congratulated her on this You Are Beautiful. Oh, You Are Beautiful has been now certified by the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission as to a go. So there's a possibility, once they obtain financing, You Are Beautiful is going to get off the ground.
I've been saying that for 2 years, but you missed the other point behind that. As I understand it, there is a situation where they are waiting for the South Shore to complete the requirements to get to downtown Chicago in 60 minutes and back from downtown Chicago in 60 minutes. That's still in the back situation. So you've also got to meet that requirement.
Yeah.
It's coming.
The way I gleaned it, yeah, this project, You Are Beautiful, is still 2 years away.
If they get
Once they
financing.
obtain financing.
My guess, my prediction is their next move is to come to the city and ask for financing out of these redevelopment funds. Just like 11th Street, I don't know, but they must have had not a good time with their financing, came to the city for financing because did they not find financing from the private world? I bet you they didn't.
Well, that has been done because the project, the $300 million project, the proceeds from that $300 project is going to a bond issue through redevelopment to the tune of a, I believe it's a 27-year bond repayment program through the Redevelopment Commission. Redevelopment Commission is funding this mechanism.
And you're talking about the South.
And so,
I'm talking about the You Are Beautiful property.
and the
That's what they approved. They approved the bond issue.
The quiet background behind bond issues on TIF districts is that if you don't have a bond issue or money owed, then you have to close the TIF district down. So as long as they keep giving 30-year bonds, they could keep the TIF district open and taking money.
But in reading between the
That's what it
lines,
works.
in reading between the lines, the proceeds derived from the You Are Beautiful property, once it becomes a reality, will be tied up in repaying the bonds. And the school city's 15% is not going to be available
Yep.
on that particular project.
Yep.
Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. I think that's a very strong
So
possibility.
they win two ways. They keep the TIF district running, and they don't have enough money for the school.
But now you're missing the other side of that. If we get this completed, the taxes that You Are Beautiful situation will pay will be very significant. Now, let me finish. So as a result of that, they're going to get property tax inputs, which we don't have today.
They're
But
going to the redevelopment district to pay the
It's going
bond.
to redevelopment to pay the
First
bonds
of all-
for the next 20 years.
First
The
of all-
school city will be shortchanged for the next 20 years on that
That
project
doesn't
alone.
go back to the tax base.
Now, wait a minute, you're telling me that those redevelopment bonds then take precedence?
Yep.
Yes.
In terms of the tax?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the money goes to the TIF district.
I read a lot. Maybe I'm not as knowledgeable as other people
The
around.
hope is that the redevelopment increases the tax of the surrounding properties that doesn't go there, and that would help the school and the fire and the EMS. That's
And-
the hope.
Now,
That
okay.
is the calculation.
What part of that? Because when you break this down, it's first of all the development that will pay the property taxes, but in addition to that, it's the people who live there that will be taxed
Individually.
Individually. So as a result of those
That's
individual,
income tax.
no, they pay property taxes on their unit.
Yeah, and that money goes to redevelopment to the TIF
Because
district.
it's on new construction.
They set the base of the price, and that money constantly goes to the county and the
So
city.
in it-
And after that,
For the
that
next-
money
yeah.
goes to the TIF district or pay the bond.
For the next 20 years until the bonds are paid for, all proceeds on that new development goes to the Redevelopment Commission.
To pay the bond.
To pay the bonds.
We'll have to check that, but what I'm thinking is that the taxes that the individual unit owners pay.
Now, if it's property tax, it goes to the TIF.
Again,
Unless it's personal property tax.
Here.
That might be different.
tax incentives for TIF districts for Michigan City area schools. You read that and it spells it out quite bluntly.
we'll have to check this one out, but I have a feeling that the taxes that the individuals pay, not that the development pays, not that the corporation pays.
It's property taxes, property tax.
Property tax is property tax.
That's going to be then the only one in Michigan City that operates that way.
No, the South Shore is
No,
under that
well,
same,
South
South Shore is under that same
South
umbrella.
Shore was basically.
Everyone in the TIF district operates that way.
Correct.
It was, the base number was set, and any price after that was going to go to the TIF district. That's why they have $20 million a year.
Right. And the school city is not eligible for new money off of new construction.
The school, the fire, the EMS,
They have
police.
the actual tax
Everybody.
base is there, and that's the actual $1.2 million that they contracted with the Redevelopment Commission 5 years ago. I'm just saying that this new contract negotiation that the school city is going to go into with the Redevelopment Commission should be on a one-year basis, because somebody has to change the mechanics.
That's up to the school system.
I'm on the side. I'm kind of on the side of Bob here. If everything's going good with the city and everything's happy and everyone's invested in the city, which they are, I see lots of people investing money in the city that they're not going to the city or the redevelopment money to ask for money. If it's going so good, then we shouldn't have to put a bond in for whatever, 11th Street, You Are Beautiful, anything. They should be able to do it on their own with their own financing if it was such a great deal. If we need to put money into it, is it really a good deal? If they can't stand on their own, why are we propping them up? If it's so great and everything's good, which it is, why are they handing out money for redevelopment and putting the police, the fire, the EMS, the school district, and all those services at a disadvantage for this redevelopment?
With the cement pond on Franklin and 11th Street that they're building, again, $27 million was supported by the Redevelopment Commission to pay off $27 million worth of
We
bonds.
paid off $12 million in a big pipe and a tunnel in the ground that's still sitting there doing nothing.
Well, that was a sanitary district.
That
So
was
anyway,
still-
I'm just saying, I haven't come to a conclusion yet. I'm still,
Well, I think
I've been on it for 3
look at this
years.
closer, because I got a feeling that the school system is going to get a significant amount of money
I hope
I
so.
hope so.
I hope so.
as a result of what is going on
Yeah.
in those areas.
Yeah.
I want to
Now,
move.
the other part about the South Shore is part of that is government. So the part that is the parking garage and the part that is the apartments, that is individual. But the station itself, that's government. So I don't have a problem with them backing that part of the governmental situation. The rest of it, that where they collect the parking fees, where they collect the apartment rentals, then that's one that should be going into the school system.
I think we'll know in 3 to 6 months the real numbers behind the South Shore double track. And from what I can see, it's not going to be good. But I want
You're
to
talking
move
about the ridership.
anything, the money, the South Shore, the money they have, the ridership, the station we put in, the apartments, the parking garage, the whole kit and caboodle is going to come to a head in 3 to 6 months. And the true numbers are going to be out, and I don't think they're going to be good. But I want to move to what the biggest announcement was, which again, I have a concern with, because I guess some of the city's not good business people, the prison. When the governor comes up here and says that we are going to give you the prison after it's decommissioned, the answer should have been, great, awesome, thank you. Now we expect you to give us the $100 million to tear it down. Because, or whatever it's called, I don't know what the cost is, but it's going to be very expensive for a prison that's been there since the Civil War.
Yeah.
So who knows what's in there? I guarantee you there's pollutants and asbestos and all kinds of nasty stuff in there that we're going to be stuck with. Probably not a good deal. Now, I know we want it. Now, if I was the state, and they were smart business people, where the first shot is to, hey, we're going to give the prison, and then we say, wait, sounds like a good idea. You're going to pay to tear it down, right? And they say, okay, we'll pay to tear it down, and when you sell the land, we want our money back that we gave you to tear it down. That would be a good partnership, and that would be a fair partnership, because we see the Indiana government do this to us over and over again. We see exactly what's happening right now because the state gave us Michigan Boulevard. And we thought, wow, that's really nice. We could get Michigan Boulevard. And I think they gave us $10 million. I think that was the number. And we said, great, that's awesome. You're going to give us the road and $10 million. We fixed it up. We paved it. Guess what? We got to repave it again. Millions and millions of dollars for eternity. Probably not the best deal. We should have held out for more money or told them to go fly a kite because we know they're just trying to give it to us, so we're stuck with it.
Okay, in regards to on that issue, the prison property should, in my mind, be established as an enterprise zone. Okay, Indiana Department of Revenue, under the Indiana Department of Revenue guidelines, the enterprise zone is an area within the city. There is a significant amount of unemployment. Several businesses are not being used to their maximum.
Yep.
An enterprise zone created, in effect, is for 10 years of a potential tax abatement with a renewal. Establish the entire prison site as an enterprise zone eligible for state financing under Indiana Code employment income deduction, employment expense credit, loan interest credits. There are enterprise zone investment cost credits. There are enterprise zone incentive expiration. There are many state programs that are available, but identify the total acreage of the prison and designate the entire area as an enterprise zone that then businesses would have an opportunity to relocate within that zone and take advantage of these tax abatement areas that the state provides.
Yes, after they give us the money to tear it down.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They need to pay to
Remediation
tear
is a
that
factor,
down.
yeah.
That remediation is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
And mark my words, there will come a day when we'll know that number, and we're all going to be wringing our hands and looking for another 30-year bond to pay for the remediation.
Right. So there's money available within the state.
The other thing then, if that's the case, first of all, I think we ought to be going after the state for money.
Oh, yeah.
But
free money, not interest, low interest.
In addition to that, we also ought to get grant writers in here. Because if
Well, I
that's the
think
case.
Angie's doing that.
Yeah, then if that's the case, then we need to write a lot of grant proposals. Because that's the second way that we could finance part of that. And maybe the state would go along with it, with them chipping in. But I have a feeling that we can go after that contract.
Yeah, you're right. The financing and the grants come from the value of the land. But if you have an infrastructure or buildings that the value of land is a negative whatever, 10, 50, $100 million, you can't use that to write your grants because you have to have match money. So if the state tears it down and gives us a piece of ground that's remediated and ready, we could use that land as remediation, as grant funding, matching dollars, instead of matching something that we have to tear down.
Well,
and
then
that's
let me
where I
throw
say
out one more suggestion. If that's the case, we ought to have our lawyers take a good solid look at this and we just give it back to the state.
well, we know how much it's going to cost. Just go into the contract and see what's going to cost to tear Westville down. I guarantee it's going to be about the same. And if the state has $1.2 billion to build a new Westville and probably tear it down, they can give us the money to take it down. But again, the negotiation on the business side would be the state should say, okay, we'll give you the money. But when it comes time that you are making money off of that, I want my money back. Same with NIPSCO. I think the same thing with NIPSCO. It's a beautiful piece of ground. It's going to cost a lot of money to remediate. And NIPSCO is going to say, well, they already started saying, we're going to pay as ratepayers to remediate that ground. The city should say, and the state should team up and say, no, we're not going to pay. You're going to pay to remediate. But when you redevelop it, we will let you get that money back. But we're not paying in the front
end. If the state won't give us the money, what I'm saying is, give the damn thing back to the state.
Well, then they'll just let it sit there and rot.
Well, okay.
They won't pay for it. They don't care. And that's why we started the show, that Michigan City is on a very good path and we're doing a lot of good things. We can't screw it up. And this right here is a bump in the road, maybe worse, that we can't let happen. We're not going to...
I'm not sure that the state will sit there and do nothing, because I got a feeling we could get the Save the Dunes Council and a number of other pretty strong entities on our side to go after and get that taken care of.
Only if you put it into non-business use, which won't make us any money.
Well, if the state put up a hotel there, as they have in a number...
Good point. Good point. So the state, if you make it a state park and they put up some hotel or something in there, do you know they're just putting up a hotel in Potato Creek? And how long has Potato Creek been in there? So they blew off Potato Creek, I don't know, 50, 100 years?
Well, I don't know.
And now they're just getting the hotel?
I don't know when Potato...
But the state park's down by Indy. They got hotels and lots of things, and Potato Creek just got one.
But
So good
we
luck
al-
waiting.
But what we also have the National Lakeshore sitting right there.
State don't
which is
care.
something
They'll tell the feds to pay them.
We have a pretty strong basis to go in there and ask the state to do that.
They'll say, go ask the feds.
No, the state makes a lot of money off that Doomsday Park.
The issue gets back to a resolution from the city council designating that specific area an enterprise zone. In 1992, the city of Michigan City, the goals and objectives of Michigan City Urban Enterprise Zone Program, hereafter referred to as the zone, whereas the City of Michigan City and Urban Enterprise Association referred to the board, whereas, anyway, the issue has to be requested by the city council to designate to the state that area being designated.
And what they want in that designation.
That is correct. That's where it all should start.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're blowing a lot of hot air about, I'm blowing a lot of air about different things. But the issue is you have to identify the object that you're talking about.
Just like in the
needs
double
to-
track.
time out.
That is correct.
That needs to be negotiated with the state. And we need to sit in
Through the city council.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Through the city
Well, it's going to
adminis-
be our city attorney that has to do the negotiations, or we hire somebody to do it. But yeah, that has to be negotiated.
So precedent has been set 20, 25 years ago, but some of the precedent, I guess, went on deaf ears.
No, it's been set recently in double track. We just did this memorandum of understanding and agreement for double track. I think we missed a lot of opportunities. We held all the cards and we gave away the farm. You look at, we tried to keep the beautiful facade of the old station in front, but go ahead and look at it. It's behind a double track platform that you can hardly even see it. Shouldn't we have moved the building back 20 or 30 feet so you can see the facade? Now you got this beautiful facade, what, how many feet from a station platform? We need to be smart. City council, the mayor, needs to put together everything they want while they hold the cards, tell the governor, thanks, I'm glad you did a memorandum of understanding prison, but we want these things. And this is what we're going to have, or we're not negotiating, because we're not going to hold the bag anymore for something you want to get off your plate, and we're going to take it. That's the
I would
city and
hold the card about we're giving this back to you over their heads, because that is the one thing that might make them go to work at the state level.
Yes, yes, we hold all the cards again, and we don't need the fold. Let's ask for what we want. Ask for the moon. They can just take things out. If you don't ask for it, they will definitely never give it to you because they're trying to unload this thing.
Yeah.
They don't want it. Indy doesn't want this. We want it and we need it, but we don't need to give away the farm here.
And the rules are on the books to implement this strategy.
Well, that's a bonus after you made your agreement.
Yeah.
And this agreement is going to be, I feel for anyone who wants to put this agreement together. City attorney, redevelopment, anybody, the council, the mayor, to try to put this agreement together to make sure we get the best end of this deal, almost impossible. But we got to start because we can't just let a governor come up here and flash us a piece of paper and say, ho, look what you got. Well, no, yeah, you're giving me a pig in a poke. I want this. I'm sorry, and thank you for the memorandum of understanding, but I'm not going to be saddled with hundreds of millions of dollars of problems because I think it's going to lead to development. I want my money.
Yeah. Or you get back to this issue with the TIF district, and this acquisition of that property will probably sit vacant for the next, what?
I hope not.
But again, you've got
Two lifetimes, I hope 50
lack
years.
of a consensus of ideas created the end result right here. If those ideas aren't,
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because we have a commission, right? Or some group of people are looking at the prison. I think that's a cart before the horse. We ought to have some business people and some people with some sense sitting down saying, I want to write down the 100 things I want before I get to this level. This is the level of everything's great and hunky-dory. I need the level of, hey, somebody's going to pay to tear this down and give us a piece of ground, and then we could borrow whatever X dollars or matching grant money, whatever. That's the first meeting. This is the second meeting.
and don't you think step one is to recognize the availability of that property through a resolution through the city of Michigan
And I
City?
think step one is to figure out what problems you might, which would be a phase 1 or a phase 2 environmental, which I think the redevelopment should pay for. We need to get some people in here and tell us what we're in for.
What
But
I'm
going back
gonna
what Bob
say
is saying.
whatever we do not want to indicate that we have accepted this as.
No.
So when you start to say we should pass an enterprise zone, I don't think we ought to
Not
do
yet.
that. We ought to be sitting down saying, if here is a list, as Tony has said, of the things that we need done. We do not accept this until this is completed. Either the state does that or they give us the money
No,
to do
okay,
it.
so in politics and in businesses, especially in politics, when we sit in these meetings, I always think to myself, we have a situation in front of us or a problem or a concern, and you don't want to say no. The city should say, thanks for the memorandum, and then create their own version of the memorandum. Yes, we approve it with these
That
conditions.
works too.
And then you look like the good guy because you said, great, thank you, but turn the page over and I want this. And then let them be the bad guy who says, oh no, we were just going to give it to you. You're going to have to find the money. And then you say, I'm sorry, but thanks, but no thanks. But we have to do that. We just went through this with the double track. A lot of good things came about, and we learned a lot of bad lessons, and we don't need to learn those lessons twice. We are sitting on another awesome spot, which we're going to be sitting on a third spot when it comes to NIPSCO, of the same negotiation.
I'm not quite so sure that's right, but we can talk about this, and we will in future meetings. I got a feeling that because of the situation of the need for giant amounts of electricity and power, NIPSCO's got to be thinking about how do we handle this, and maybe we're going to need that. They're going to need that NIPSCO property in order to accomplish some of that.
Nah.
I don't know where they
It'll
stand.
be nuclear.
Why? Yeah, I agree with you. It's
It'll
going to
be
be
nuclear.
nuclear. But do they? And nuclear is near as expansive today as it was 25.
You
30
bring
years
up an
ago.
excellent point. So back to the business person. The business person would appeal to NIPSCO's profit side and their ratepayers. Because if NIPSCO can make some money and not ask for rate increases or reduce rates, they look awesome. So we need to help them out and say this. Let's say NIPSCO is $1 billion property, and that money that they make for that would either make sure that NIPSCO won't raise rates in the next 50 years, or they might give us a rate reduction in the next 50 years. If they get that property to its highest value, we make tax money off it, NIPSCO gets money off of it, they can produce power somewhere else and a piece of ground that is less value, then we all look good, and that's where we need to be. And that's why I think this South Shore double track was the first test at our ability to negotiate. The prison is the second big test. The third biggest test is NIPSCO. And we need to have smart business negotiators in there making sure.
Except NIPSCO has more of a business interest in this.
They have, yeah, that's why it's even
Yes.
harder negotiation
Yeah.
because we got to make sure that they get a good deal, and then we try to help them sell to their ratepayers that this is good for them because A, we won't raise your rates for 20 years or 50 years, or B, we might lower your rate for 5 or 10 years. That would go over great because NIPSCO has a reputation to keep.
And if we get one of these situations from Amazon or Microsoft
Yeah.
where they're building that, we probably could get Amazon or Microsoft to pay the rate entirely for all of the electricity that they use. And if we can set up that kind of a deal, that would mean that they're paying the entire amount. Some of that could go to NIPSCO's overhead.
If you set up that kind of deal with either the state of Indiana or NIPSCO or whoever, the other Fortune 500 companies, Amazon, Google, Elon Musk, Microsoft would all realize, I guarantee you in their corporate office and their corporate boardrooms realize that, hey, Michigan City's pretty smart, they get what they want by helping us get what we want. Can we go over there because that's a community I'd like to do business with because they understand I need to make money and they make money.
They may actually have to come here just because of water. These situations and the amount of electricity that they generate.
Well, they could come anywhere
They
because
have
of
to
water.
have-
They could go to Oberg, they could go
anywhere.
East Chicago or Hammond. But
Anywhere they can get the water from Lake Michigan.
if there's a nice community that understands they need to look good and we need to look good, that boardroom's coming over to talk to our mayor and say, hey, I understand you guys know how you deal in business, and we like that. How can we come to your town?
But they can't go, they probably would have trouble going to LaPorte. They can go anywhere that they can get the water for cooling from Lake Michigan.
And we need that to be Michigan City,
Yeah.
because we have some areas they could utilize for this sort of adventure. And if a business feels that your community is a partner and willing to help you and not just use you and take your tax money and do whatever they can to raise money off you, they're coming here. And that is where we start with the double track, the prison property, and NIPSCO property. So the word gets out in the Fortune 500 companies that Michigan City is a place that you want to do business because they know what they're doing.
And that also goes back to the school system and talking.
And then the school system.
And talking about the teachers and these remedial programs to get these students up, because they're going to be looking at, we're going to have to hire some
Yep.
of these people. And as a result of that, they're going to have the background to understand what we're doing, which is why I'm so insistent on getting these remedial classes put in place and getting these students up to grade level.
In my opinion, it all starts with the teachers. How are you going to motivate the teachers to want to do a better job to bring kids, remediate kids up, or kids for training?
Yeah.
It's money. We saw it with the police, the fire, the EMS, the lifeguards. That's the way the world works.
Yeah.
If you're going to
Well,
get an extra $5,000 or $10,000, you're going to be pretty motivated.
In
And
that case, although I would not be real happy with it, maybe we ought to think about the same tax situation that we used for the police and fire and first responders in terms of bringing up teacher salaries.
I don't think it's available.
We
That
could-
was only available. We could ask the state to do it, but that is a question. Would you like to pay your students, your teachers more and get better teachers? Which we always talk about, and we always have promises from the lottery to the gambling casinos that never come to fruition. So I don't know.
Well, what I've read, that there are additional benefits within this TIF district revenue above and beyond the school city, in reference to fire and police and water and sanitation and roads. New TIF district funds can be utilized for numerous things. I am only addressing one issue, and that's the 15% that the school city is eligible for. There are other entities who reside within the TIF district that can be beneficiaries of the TIF district revenue, but they have to assert themselves, and they have to get involved. I am only bringing one issue to light, and that issue revolves around the school city. Someone else is going to have to follow up elsewhere, because
See, these are very important leadership decisions, not in the public world, and not just the public world, the public and private world, but the public world. And I think Angie realizes this and understands this, that these are leadership decisions that take time and energy on her and her administration's part. So they need to focus on these and make sure the city still runs. If you spend all your time making sure the city runs, and police cars and fire engines and fire and funding and employees, you don't get to spend your time on things that are very important in the next 5 or 10 years, the leadership decisions and the quality of life in the future, like this, that you're missing out because you can take your day can get sucked up by trivial things that you really shouldn't have to take your time with, because you as the leader need to make sure, and the council too needs to make sure that this is where we're going. Everything else should be running. If we have to spend our time on running the daily activities, we're wasting our energy. It's not where we should spend our time. And that's why we started this whole conversation. Michigan City is booming, it's growing, it's got immense possibilities, but we could squander it just like we have generation after generation. And I don't know how we stop that cycle.
Actually, it wasn't generation after generation. It really started downhill in about 1970. Before
Yes.
that, if you talk to the kids that I went to school with, this was a great place to be
Yep.
raised.
So you're talking like 1.5 or 2 generations.
They made huge
Oh yeah,
screw-ups.
we had it going.
But yeah, it was the park system was absolutely fantastic. The employment situations were absolutely fantastic. That goes back to the 1920s in the Chamber of Commerce, who hired a guy by the name of Walt Greenbaum. He brought in all kinds of industries.
Yeah, We had a leader who had the vision to look at what industries to bring in. And then those industries went away, and we never replaced them.
Yeah.
We kind of just sat on our laurels and waited for somebody else to come. We didn't create the environment for the next generation of things to come, or manufacturing, or light manufacturing, or technology, or something.
And the other part of that, I'm not sure that the school system actually got into what they should have done and did much later with the A.K. Smith Center. They never got into the real teaching of what do we need to teach our students to the age of 18
Yes.
to be able to pass the academic test to get into the
They didn't
military.
get ahead of the curve on what we need to teach people at the A.K.
Yeah.
Smith, because that could have been an invaluable tool for the next generations, instead of focusing on past
Yeah.
training that doesn't fit
But
the
that's
future.
the other situation when you have old teachers.
Yep,
They tend to teach what they were
Yeah.
taught to do for the last 20 years.
yep.
That's why I keep mentioning the fact that if they don't want to do this, then we need to go out and look at part-time individuals, maybe, certainly for grades 1 through 6, we could find individuals who are in college, majoring in education, that would like to come in and teach a Saturday class. They could certainly do that. Or teach a class in summer school. They could certainly do that. It would depend on the teachers if they want to do it.
Yeah, because the reading, writing, arithmetic is what we need. But the add-on to that, we're not seeing, I don't know if nearly any schools or districts are doing it. These students need to be seeing, we need to utilize what's in their hand, their phone, their social media, AI. We need to have that. And you're not going to have the older teachers at all want to do it, let alone know how. So some of the younger part-time teachers could bring that to us.
And college students who have, let's say, majoring in education and have 2 years could very easily handle
That
something
happens
like
to me,
that.
when I teach at Purdue. That happens to me too. The older professors, Purdue has the best software. Purdue has the best hardware. It's completely top of the line, cutting edge, advanced. But the older professors, A, aren't going to teach it, and B, don't know what it is. And if I go teach a course, I use it every day. I am on the cutting edge of technology. And my students get that. And that is a great add-on to what the older professors have got them foundationally ready for. They've got the reading, writing, arithmetic, they've done the calculations, they know the basic functions. To add this on top of them, just like you said, would move us light years ahead with the younger teachers who use this stuff and show them that there's something other than just talking to their friends and Twitter or whatever on their phones. This could actually be a career and make them some money in some arena. And that's what we need. We don't want to get rid of the basic functions. We need those.
Well, that's where you start.
But after that, they need this just as much as they need the basic functions. We can't stick our heads in the sand and hope things were the same as 50s and 60s and 70s. This is 2020, 2030, 2050 that these students are going to be in the work world.
I want to give a little kudos here to a guy by the name of Messmer. His name is Mark Messmer from Jasper County. As of July the 1st, the Act 181 clarifies the situation with sanctuary cities. And through his efforts, this was before he envisioned the communities not working with the what's this guy's name? That's
Attorney General Todd Rokita.
Todd Rokita. The law addresses that Attorney General standings to ensure municipalities, colleges, universities across the state following the law banning sanctuary cities, sanctuary universities, and cooperate with the federal and immigration authorities. This law was implemented in the middle of this year. Now you see what this, what's his name, Homer or whatever
Holman,
what he is doing. People in the state of Indiana have been far-sighted enough, had vision enough to see a potential problem possibly arising. We're ahead of the ball game right here. So to say that the police, state, local, they are mandated basically by the state of Indiana that if a individual is found to be an immigrant and an illegal, he or she is already turned over to sanctuary, to the Department of, I can't think of the, anyway,
ICE.
the state of ICE.
Immigration,
ICE.
Customs.
The state is ahead of the game, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And so I give this guy kudos for initiating this effort.
It's nice to be in Indiana.
It is.
And LaPorte County.
We've got a new governor coming. Did you see his
State police guy.
Did you see his the address that he made to the Senate as he was leaving? I watched it today, and how informative it was. I mean, this guy's got some ideas.
He's a businessman.
He's got some ideas coming in the state of Indiana. Michigan City, the state of Indiana is on an upswing.
Which I'm thinking is different from anyone except Mitch Daniels.
Yeah.
Because the president governor was not a businessman. What was the other before him? Pence, he was a radio kind of guy. He wasn't really a businessman. This guy is a businessman.
There's a move afoot here in the state of Indiana. Again, little issues, little stumbling blocks. Oh, we're getting down to 2 minutes. This is basically our final show before Christmas, so we can provide some greetings and salutations to whomever. It's up to you guys.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
See you next year.
Yeah, we won't be back until the 3rd of January, back on the air, and you will be again serenaded through the Myron Florin of the city of Michigan City. We'll be playing Christmas music, so Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, and
Get ready for a lot of football. It's
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
a lot of fun.
a lot of I'm not a betting individual, but I'll take IU.
I looked at the odds. If you take IU, I think $10 got you $33.
Yeah.
Are you betting on IU?
I never bet. Well,
If you had magical money, would you put it on IU?
I bet on goofy things like 2 turkey legs or 6-pack, things like, but I don't bet money.
Well, again,
Merry Christmas,
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
New Year, everyone, and please enjoy Michigan City. What is going on Franklin Street and further down the line? It's fantastic. Great restaurants and nice places to be. Please take the time to enjoy it.
And a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Last remarks, Tony?
No, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. See you in 2025. I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvements or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact show's co-producer Bob Pollock, Dave Beeler, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djbeeler1@hotmail.com, or Tony at emailagm@yahoo.com, or you may address your ideas for any future shows to our one and only staff writer, Sarah Bellum. The showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and the Monday evening at 7 p.m. and numerous times throughout the next 3 weeks, whether it's us being alive or being on tape. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and see you next year.